So, I haven't done a vlog in a while, and I had told myself that I was going to switch the style up a little bit and try to, layer it out, add more to it, and I ended up not really wanting to do so just because the stylistic choice that I had made really is going to take a lot more time, so it's probably going to be something that's going to be built over the next year or so. And I feel like I've sort of taken my pace down a bit, so it's probably a good idea just to think about where I want to go from here in regards to the channels and so on and so forth. But today, as I woke up, something has sort of been on my mind. Well, not really sort of. I'll admit it. It's been plaguing me. And it's been plaguing me since I wrote the article for Hollywood and Todo on a response to Matt Walsh. And many of you know this. One of the websites that I frequent, one of the conservative websites that I frequent, is the Daily Wire. And I fairly usually, listen to the Ben Shapiro show, listen to the Andrew Klavan show. On occasion, I'll listen to what Michael Knowles has to say, and on occasion, because it's considerably shorter, I'll listen to Matt Walsh. And with Matt Walsh, I think of the four of them, he is the one that I find myself wrestling with the most. Matt Walsh is one of those guys that my pastor friends oftentimes listen to and read and so on and so forth. Like, he has been sort of the one person that I see them share most on Facebook when he was with the Blaze years ago. I would see articles from him, from not just from my friends, but their wives as well. And he resonates with the evangelical Christian crowd quite well. But there's an issue. One thing that has to be realized when it comes to conservatism, and this is something that I feel like Matt screwed up when it came to his discussion of video games, was there are a lot of young men out there, and young women, who are open to conservatism, who are open to the ideas of conservatism. And part of the reason that they are open to those ideas is because, and you see behind me, you've got my Berserk poster over my right shoulder, my Star Wars one's over the left with my base. You can't see it because it's behind my bulk, but there's a number of video game posters that are going to be hung up in the room behind me, which is my entertainment room. A lot of these media bits that I take in, film, the one manga of two that I've read, video games, the very nature of them is conservative. And a lot of younger people these days are into nerdy things. And whether we realize it or not, that, in a way, culturally has opened people to the ideas of conservatism. And opened them to the ideas of the right wing. So, this is the problem that I have with a lot of older conservatives, or conservatives who aren't really older. Maybe they're about my age, but they're very old at heart. They haven't lived the same lives as a lot of young millennials have. Sort of that wandering about, pondering whether or not all who wander are lost sort of lifestyle. And because they have not lived that, because they have not taken those sorts of ideas into consideration, they find themselves in a position where they can't really say to themselves, I understand what these young people are thinking. I understand what they're doing. And oftentimes that can lead to a sense of piety, which was, again, another issue I had with Walsh. Because in his articles on video games, it comes across as very pious. I remember a lot of people in my audience, when I have mentioned that particular article, basically said, pardon my French, fuck Matt Walsh. And it was hard to argue. That was my immediate reaction, too. And then I said to myself, I want to react to this in a much more positive manner. In the sense that I understand what is being discussed here on several levels, not just philosophically. Why not use that knowledge and offer up a response? Do I think Walsh ever read it? No, I think he's a very prideful individual. And I don't think that he's going to read a nobody like me. no matter how right I might be. But what I'm talking about, for better or worse, is a symptom of an overall problem. The problem is the inability to relate with the younger generation. And that is a problem in and of itself, because whether we realize it or not, the things that young people are into are going to slant them towards conservatism if you help them to understand exactly how that is. This came to mind while I was playing the one game that I play pretty regularly, and that's For Honor. You know, I'm big into knights, knighthood, the Crusades, history, and things along those lines. You know, Deus Vult is my catchphrase for a reason. And the interesting thing that I was realizing about this went back to an article I read on the Rebel some time ago, and didn't agree with at the time, but now I'm starting to agree with. So, okay, you can't see it, but behind me is a poster of the original Dark Souls cover art, and it's a beautiful piece of art, and I'm very happy it's going up on my wall. I can't wait to go tonight, pick up some nails, and put everything in place tomorrow before work. And the thing about Dark Souls, and the thing about For Honor, and every multiplayer game I've ever played, and any video game in general I've ever played, is that everything that I get in that game has to be earned with time, patience, and skill. Unless I put it on easy mode or something, or the skip gameplay mode that was so controversial back. I believe it was Amy Hepler. I don't remember Hepler's first name, from BioWare, saying that she wishes she could skip a bunch of gameplay to get straight to the story. Or there was if you died too much in certain sections of L.A. Noire, you could skip that scene, that chase scene or what have you, which I find preposterous. But regardless, the thing about it is that conservatives believe in meritocracy. Conservatives believe in earning, not being handed anything. And that's a concept that a lot of people who play video games are going to be very, very, very interested in. They're going to relate to it. They're going to understand it because it is part of their life. Everything they've ever had to do in a video game, they've had to earn it by themselves, you know, or they've had to earn it with friends. And they understand the necessity of earning. And that is something that I don't think a lot of people in the conservative movement who are older or have that old soul, like a Ben Shapiro or a Matt Walsh or someone along those lines, really understand. And that in and of itself is an issue to me. Another thing is superhero stories. Superhero stories, you have to keep in mind, don't necessarily do Shades of Grey that well. You know, what is good, what is right, is pretty consistent from one story to the next. And there is a static view of morality. There is a static idea of what it means to stand up for what you believe in, what it means to do what is right. And the commonality that I saw in a lot of comic books that I reviewed last year, that I trashed, like Champions, like, America Chavez, like, The Unstoppable Wasp, is that it wasn't about being a hero, it was about pushing a different narrative. And that narrative had nothing to do with being heroic. That narrative had nothing to do with anything positive most of the time. And that is part of the reason that I don't think that those books ever resonated with people, aside from the bad writing, aside from the blatant pushing of agendas. But then again, that's the issue. When it comes to a hero, what do we think of a hero? What is a hero? A hero is somebody who does what's right. A hero is someone who defends others. A hero is someone who stands up for what they believe in. A hero is somebody who is going to go forward and sacrifice of himself or herself for their fellow man. Also a conservative principle. And I think that it's one that resonates with a lot of people. Pepsi's delicious, by the way, for those who didn't know. So, as it stands, we look at what's most popular in the world right now. Video games are hugely popular. They're the biggest entertainment industry out there. What are the most popular films out there right now? They are superhero films. Black Panther, a film about an isolationist monarch, is now, I think, the third biggest film of all time. That's insane when you think about it. I'm pretty sure it just passed Titanic. And Panther is not... They call it a black movie or something along those lines. Is Black Panther really in the same vein as something like Do the Right Thing or some other Spike Lee thing like Chirac? Of course not. It's about doing the right thing. It's about standing up for your home. It's about standing up for the people you care about. It's about national sovereignty. It's about learning that revenge is not all there is to life. It's also about learning that there is a necessity for compassion, and that a lack of compassion can create the very thing that destroys you in the end. In that particular film, that would be Killmonger, who, for better or worse, is created by T'Chaka. So, it's an interesting way to look at things. I understand that. And I'm probably thinking a bit different than most people would anticipate. And maybe you don't agree with me, but let's face it, when most people hear hooves, they think horses, I think zebras. So, regardless, I think that what we are seeing amongst many conservatives is not an understanding, but rather an adherence to a rigid tradition without questioning whether or not everything about that tradition is necessarily correct or still fits in the modern day. I'm not going to pull a John Oliver and go, current year, or something along those lines, but what I am going to say is this. It is better to think about the world around you and understand what it is and how it works than it is to say that it is wrong simply because it doesn't fit into your purview of what you think things should be like. And that is something to definitely consider. And that, I think, is something that if more conservatives did it, I think that we could probably get in many more young people, especially those who are sitting around, for better or worse, and trying to find some sort of purpose in their life, trying to find something more. So, hope you guys enjoyed what I discussed today. I'd also like to hear your thoughts below. Do you think that if you have started to listen to more right-wing ideas, do you think that these things that you've consumed in the media have made you more open to it? Why or why not? Also, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, don't forget to share it, don't forget to subscribe either. With all that said, my name is Micah Curtis. Welcome to my crusade. Deus Volt.